Okay, let's try again. So, I think it's about time for us to make a start. It is our optional weekly live online meeting. As always, I'll be recording this session for anyone who's not able to join us in a synchronous setting, but still wants to get the same information in this format. So we have now reached the week 11 of our course. And during this week, what we've got, the biggest things that we've got lined up is to complete our second exam and also our second practical test. So kind of a fun week, but I realize a week when some students are a little nervous that what to expect. I want to be very, very clear and straightforward. The format is very much the same as it was for our first set of tests. But just to make sure that everyone feels at ease what to anticipate, what's coming up on the pipeline, we'll spend a little bit of time talking about the exam 2 and practical 2. In addition to that, I want to start by just doing the really quick check-in. We've been doing those, and I think that they are useful. But most importantly, today, I want to dedicate some time for going through the feedback that you provided during my midterm feedback survey. A lot of the time, students think that we just ask questions for the sake of asking. I very much actually work on based on the comments and based on the feedback that you share with me. So there's certain changes that I've done. There's certain changes that I will keep doing based on what you identified as what works for you and where can we do even better. I also do want to quickly discuss the plan for the week, and then we might not get into a huge amount of detail about the review of exam 2 and practical 2, but I at least want to kind of set the expectation that what you expect to see on those. And then if we have time, if there's interest, we can look at few examples of questions as they relate to that as well. But to get us started, whole this semester we've been doing these little check-ins, and we've been using heavily the book of Young Pueblo, referred looking inwards, or inward is the name of the book. And I think that there's some value in us taking a really quick time to check in how we are doing and checking how we are doing, not just individually, but collectively as a group. And taking that message further for the week. So since I don't have anyone else than myself on this session today, I've randomly picked up a number between 2 and 225, which are the page numbers of this book. And the quote that came up on page, I opened it randomly at 63, says that find the tools you need to heal. And I think that the healing obviously goes with the medical careers that many of you are pursuing. It is so important that you're adequately prepared with the various different medical conditions, various different procedures. So that's what you are doing. You're working towards that, building your set of tools, building your skill set so you can do that job. But the other thing, if we leave the part heal away from this quote, that really stood out for me is the importance of finding the tools that work for you. And I wanted to take that as our guiding thought as we are looking at the midterm feedback. So some of the things that I asked from you were that what's working well, what should I keep doing, and also where can we make some adjustments so that you have the tools that you need to be successful. And I'm going to be fully transparent. My goal and my vision has always been and continues to be to provide you more tools than you necessarily need. So it can be a bit of a pick and mix in a sense that you choose what tools work for you and those are the tools you utilize. Everything that I share with you doesn't have to hit to the core and doesn't have to change your way of learning and the approach to that, but I want to offer something for everyone. So you choose the tools, you choose the methods that work for you, and you build up from there. So, first and most importantly, I really appreciate everyone who was able to take their time and provide me feedback, provide me ideas. And it's not just personally me, but collectively us running this course, that how can we serve you the best? The survey is now closed, but I will have multiple other opportunities again for you to provide your feedback. And as always, I also encourage direct exchange. So I sometimes get messages from students who share what they're, for example, struggling with, what's challenging, and I'm always here to help you. We'll try to address those. That's a big part of my job, and that's the part of my job that I really enjoy. I've been doing this for a while, and I think that I have quite a few different ways of explaining concepts, going through concepts. If there's something that's not clear to you, we'll find a way that resonates with your style. I think one good example that comes to mind is that I had a student who loved baking, but they really struggled with some of the physiological processes. So we broke down those physiological processes as a recipe. We had our ingredients, then we had the steps that we worked through, and that made much more sense to this student. So again, let me know what I can do to help you, and let me help you. If it's quiet, I normally assume that things are going well, but I absolutely want you to know that you're not on your own. That's not the intention of this course. We are working together as a team. So let's have a look of some of the things, and I'm going to start with the things that, based on the feedback, seem to be working well, that we might want to keep doing. And if there were any ideas from those things that are working well, what I've taken away from those comments and where are we heading. One of the things that I think that a few students mentioned is that they're busy to read the textbook, so they're really happy with the ebook. And I think I've mentioned this in the past, but I want to make sure that I mention it again so that everyone catches this, that we are using an electronic textbook for a very specific reason. And the reason why we are using it is that these electronic textbooks have been developed in a way that if you were to have a disability that qualified for an accommodation, most of those accommodations can be met already with what we have on that textbook. And one of those is the opportunity to have the electronic textbook to read the text there aloud for you. So you'll find a symbol on the book on the upper right hand corner of the screen where you have this little speaker symbol. Once you click on that, the textbook will start reading through the contents of that chapter for you. And you do not need to have a visual impairment for benefiting from this. What I'm hearing from the feedback and what I kind of had a feeling is that a lot of you have a lot of things going on in your life. So one of the things that's a challenge is to find the time to do all the studying, do all the reading. That's why I offer you those lecture videos. Same goes for the kind of those lecture videos summarize the key messages, because let's be honest, these textbooks are written to serve a broad range of audience. Not everything on that textbook is relevant for our class, but a lot of things are. But I want you to focus on the most important things, and those most important things are what I highlight on those lecture videos. So I heard that some students like to listen to those lecture videos while they're doing other things, so that kind of gives them a chance to go through the key points. Same goes for your ebook. A lot of you are spending time in the car, for example. I have several mothers who do kids picking off and picking up, driving them to school, to hobbies, and so on and so on. If you are stuck on that line, waiting to pick up a child in a car, one way to work through the material is listen to textbook. So use that audio feature of the textbook to work through if you don't have time in a day to physically just sit down and read the textbook. You can absolutely benefit from those tools that are developed initially for a different group. But I think that a lot of things with accessibility are that what benefits one likely benefits a lot of others as well. So I encourage you to use this resource if that's something that would work well for you. Few students also mentioned that they enjoyed the ability to retake quizzes, and that's absolutely what I want you to do. These quizzes are not something that you have to walk into and just magically know the answers. The quizzes that I give to you are part of the learning process. So they guide you to the key things, key points, key features of the chapter material. So please approach it in that way that you can totally rework through them multiple times. While you're working through the quiz, you can be actually referring to your study materials to find the answers. So learning is very much of a process. I don't want the quizzes on this course to be something that's just me testing you. We can do plenty enough testing as it is. If you do something on this course, I hope that it's benefiting your learning process. And that's exactly what the assignments are intended to be. They're intended to guide you as you're working through things. So I hope that helps in that sense. In terms of the live online sessions, I heard from few students that they do appreciate them existing, but the timing doesn't really work great for them. So what I've done in response to that is that I'm going to try incorporating more discussion forums. Obviously, what's working for you, keep doing that. And if you don't need more support, that's fine. But since we don't get to have a chance to have this immediate exchange of ideas through synchronous interaction, I've created discussion forums on our Canvas course. And these discussion forums are places where we can also interact, not necessarily in real time, but closer to the real time. So keep an eye on those. I've started adding them. They're found, for example, on this week's module, if that's something that you think would benefit you. Few students also mentioned that they appreciate the kind of what I call signposting of what to expect. So I try to lay out very clearly on weekly announcements that what's happening each week so that there's no surprises, there's no curveballs. You'll notice that my courses follow a very regular structure. I try to do the same to highlight what I'm expecting from you, what assignments are due on these live online sessions. So we'll keep doing that if that's working for you. And the final thing that I think I was going to say, but I don't have it highlighted here, the last bullet point is that remember, there's multiple ways of earning points on this course. You do not need to do everything to get that A. You just need to do enough to accumulate that percentage grade that qualifies you for an A. So you'll notice, for example, I provide you extra credit assignments as those want more sections at the end of each weekly module if you want to collect the points using that rather than something else. So it really is a pick and mix in that sense that you can choose what works for you. So I hope that that helps with that a little bit. Some of the things that where we can do maybe a little bit better is that I heard from some students that sometimes the amount of material can be a little intimidating. So I'm regrouping materials on this course maybe to a lesser number of pages, but same content there. So we'll have a look of if that would help you. Whether I'm able to do a lot of changes during this semester or whether it's moving to the next semester, I'll see, but please don't feel overwhelmed. Like I said, I offer you more than you need so you can choose what works for you. But I'll try to establish a little bit more clarity in that. I also had students who were very eager to do their own independent research and very eager to, oh, is there additional materials that either I can provide or they had found some good ones that they wanted to share. And I think that that's where these discussion forums are ideally positioned. So feel free to also use those as a place if you have a great realization to share that with the rest of the class. But also the other way around, if you feel like I would really benefit from some extra information regarding a certain topic, give a shout out on that discussion forum. And you're so encouraged to help each other, but also if you don't feel like helping each other, if you don't have a solution to a question, I will definitely come in there as well and try to assist. So those discussion forums you'll find at the end of each chapter. I've added them, and I think that those might be one way to address some of those needs. There was a request that, oh, it would be great if we could have even more writing assignments. And in all reality, I would love to have even more and have so many writing assignments. It is a little bit of a balance that when you write something, I will read everything. So I can't have unlimited number of those manually graded assignments. Otherwise, the turnaround time for you to get your feedback back is going to grow. So that's why a lot of students find those quizzes useful in a sense that they have a chance to get immediate feedback and then act on that. So I'm trying to find the right balance with the writing assignments, but since there's interest on that, I've added definitely two. So those food for thought assignments, again, allow you to do independent research. They allow you to go above and beyond and apply those skills. Usually they are very application-based questions. Usually they're clinically related questions. So you can work on those as much or as little as you wish. And again, like you've seen, my grading is that I have a set standard, what would equal as a perfect answer or a strong answer. And then if you go above and beyond that, you can actually, in my course, earn more points than the maximum number of points that has been allocated for an activity if you go above and beyond. So that's one way to earn those points. But I hear you. I will add at least some more writing assignments, but there is a balance of that as well. In terms of the assignments, I heard that students really enjoyed those simulations, so I have some more of those coming. They're a new feature that I'm trying out this semester, so you'll see that they're not worth of a huge amount of points because I wanted to have that backup option that if you really all are hating those, that your grade is not riding all on that. But it sounds like it's a fairly uniform impression that you all enjoy of those. So we'll keep incorporating those simulations on the course. In terms of the assignments, I think we touched upon that earlier on, having multiple attempts. You're absolutely encouraged to work through the assignments until you feel that you're at the point where you want it to be. And you'll also notice that my assignments are very much structured in a way that they build towards the exams and practicals. So I try not to throw you curveballs, anything that you would be unprepared for in terms of the exams and practicals. So the best way to prepare for those is to do the weekly homework. And you might see some of the very similar question types or some of the very similar themes coming up as you're taking those exams. So I hope that that helped with showing you that first of all, I really value that feedback. And second of all, I do changes based on that. And I hope that the changes, the ideas that you presented all got answered. If there's something that I missed, do not hesitate to drop me a message and I'll definitely try to help with that. In terms of the homework for this week, we'll just kind of swiftly move onwards. The two pieces of homework that I have for you is to complete the exam 2, and complete the practical, which is practical 2. And both of these are due at the end of the week. Both are completed on the Canvas. Again, I would encourage you not to leave it as the very last thing on the week in case there's technical issues, in case something comes up and you do not have a chance submitted. That would be a shame. So time accordingly, plan accordingly that you get that exam and two and practical two in. So let's have a look of a little bit what you can expect on these two assignments. Well, both of these assignments will cover 4 chapters. So we'll cover chapters 8, 9, 10, and 11. And the chapter 8 was all about skeleton. So there's a lot of bones that we'll get to see, especially when it comes to the practical. And you'll end up seeing that practical is a little bit bigger than it was last time in terms of number of questions. So there's a lot for us to identify when it comes to the skeleton. But there's also questions in the exam about that. Then we had a quick look of articulations. So that's covered also on this exam. We talked about general muscle tissue, and then we looked at various different skeletal muscles, those big muscles of the body that generate movement. So all of those chapters are part of exam 2. And exam 2 actually consists of 28 questions. And again, I encourage you to have a look back to what you've learned in the past in your homework, especially the chapter quizzes. The questions will be very similar. So this is kind of a chance to revisit some of those, and they might be presented slightly differently, but they try to be very, very similar to what you've already seen in the quizzes. This quiz or this exam has a time limit of 60 minutes. Very rarely would I hear that a student would run out of time. 60 minutes for 28 questions is plenty. The reason why there is a time limit is that since it is an open book test, that you don't start it on Monday and finish on Thursday, you do have to finish it on one setting. So the time limit is there just to keep it so it's not the first time you ever start studying for this course. If you have notes and if you prepared for the test, using those notes is totally fine, but it's a good idea to know where in your notes you find answers on certain topics. This test is worth of 100 points, and like I said, it's in a single setting. So once you start the exam, I'm asking you to finish it on the same go. Obviously, if you have issues, IT issues, internet goes down, other things like that, let me know and I can work with you individually and we can figure out whether we could reset your exam or something like that. But a big thing there is that once you start it, you should finish it within 60 minutes. And like I said, this test is going to be non-proctored, so you can do it anywhere where you wish. No lockdown browser needed, no things like that. You can even use your notes. Again, I encourage, it's more important for me that you know where to find the answers and you know what answers are reliable. So I encourage you to have an idea at least of your notes, where to turn for different topics of these chapters that we're covering for the answers. So we're seeing one example question here on the screen, if you're wondering what you could expect. So this is a matching question where we have names of the bones and then we have body parts where you might find them. So frontal bone found within the skull, sternum, within the thoracic cage, scapula, part of the pectoral girdle, hip bone, part of the pelvis. Ribs, again, are part of the thoracic cage. Clavicle, part of the pectoral girdle. What else do we see? We see maxilla is a good example of a skull bone. Sacrum, part of the pelvis, and costal cartilage is part of a rib cage. So a chance for you to kind of demonstrate that you know those various different bones, part of what larger structure they're part of. So that should give you an idea. I think that this very similar question we saw in one of our quizzes as a drag and drop assignment. So I really am trying to make sure that there's no curveballs. It's familiar stuff. It might be presented slightly differently. But if you want to prepare and you're thinking what's the best thing to prepare, it's going back to those quizzes, revising your notes from those quizzes, and so on. So that's our exam 2. and what we're covering on that. Let's have a look of quickly practical 2. Again, we're covering the exact same chapters, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So skeleton, articulations, muscle tissue, and then the actual skeletal muscles of the body. This time, because we have a little bit more material to cover, there's actually 50 questions. And even though that might sound like a lot, remember these questions are literally me showing you a picture and pointing a part in that picture and asking what it is. And I give you a list of options that you choose. So it's multiple choice all the way on these. You choose from this list that which part properly answers to that part that's been highlighted on that picture. So 50 questions in sense is not going to be a lot since that they're so straightforward questions. You have 60 minutes for those, which is more than 1 minute per question, which is typically the standard. So again, I'm not trying to make you run out of time. I'm not trying to stress you out. It is an open book test, so you can use your notes. They're all familiar things that you've seen before. You will complete this test as a single setting again. So once you start the test, you have 60 minutes from that. You can use your notes. You don't need to have a lockdown browser and so on and so on. So I really try to make these tests low stress. There's really nothing you wouldn't have seen in your practice anatomies that I ask from you in the practical tests. Here I have an example of a question that could come up. I'm asking you to identify the bone indicated with an arrow, and we see that the arrow points to our frontal bone. So then you would choose that option. It is that simple. That took us even talking a little loud, less than 30 seconds. So you have 50 of those questions and just work through those. And I'm certain that you will excel and do really well. So no curveballs, nothing scary, nothing unexpected going on in there. So on that note, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump out of this presentation and I'm going to share my screen from the course. And let's see if I can make this so that I can go to a student view. So this should be very similar to what you're seeing on your learning modules. And if we scroll all the way to week 11, which is the week where we're at now, we'll see that for week 11, we've got our 2 tests. So we have our exam 2 and we have our practical 2. You'll see that you have until end of this week to complete those. I also have that discussion forum space if that helps you at all. And once you go to each of these tests, you'll get a little bit of a briefing what to expect. We're seeing the same things that we discussed earlier on: number of questions, amount of time that you have, and what material is covered. And to give you an idea, we had a look of that first question together where you answered to choosing what body part each of these bones matched: frontal bone for the skull, sternum from the options that I'm giving to you is probably the thoracic gauge, a good one, and working so on through this list. Having a look of there's a similar for a bunch of other bones we're asked that are these bones part of the bones of the upper limb or lower limb, and you answer to those as well. I have some true false questions as well. Is fibula part of the axial skeleton? And then you choose appropriately. I have also choose answers from multiple options. There might be more than one correct option here in terms of what's true about it when person ages and the skeletal system. So that shows you kind of what to expect, what kind of questions can come up. Again, it's more important for me that you really are learning, you're gaining more knowledge than that you're stressed about the test. So I encourage you to refer back to those chapter quizzes that we had. Sorry, I had a few things flashing on the screen at the same time. So no curveballs, nothing surprising, nothing unexpected. We can have a really quickly a look of also the practical. I think I showed you the first practical question already earlier on, but same thing, number of questions, time that you have available, and what's covered. So you would literally be presented one picture at the time and asked to identify the structure that's highlighted there. So here, for example, we're seeing our frontal bone highlighted. You would choose the correct option. We've got other bones here that you work through. There's various different body parts. We're spending time looking at the skeleton and muscular system. So a lot of those that you can then work through based on what you've learned in the classes before. And again, these rely heavily on what you've seen when it comes to the weekly practice anatomy assignments. So no curveballs there. I do want to show you, I've got some dissection pictures. I've got some uh, more diagrams, but this time about the muscular system. So that gives you an idea what to expect, what to anticipate as you're working through these assignments. I'm going to stop sharing this screen in order for me to jump back and do the very last part that I wanted to share with you. Let's see if I can get that to show up. And I think we're back on our PowerPoint. So at this point, I don't think there's anything too surprising, too unexpected. Like I said, the format of the practical and the exam are very similar to what you are familiar with. I do encourage you to remember that I am here to help. I definitely will be trying out those discussion forums in case that would be a helpful resource for you. And as always, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I hope you have a very good week, and I look forward to seeing your exams and practical tools coming in. And once we get through this week, we are 2/3 of a semester done. So we then only have one more larger unit to go through, which is going to be all about nervous system. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'm going to wish you a very good rest of the week. And as always, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Have a good week. Thank you. Bye.